What is good, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new Amazon video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about, is Amazon a good job for college students? I am speaking from experience because I was a college student during my time at Amazon, at least in my last, I think 2 semesters it was, or maybe 3. I don't remember how long I was in college towards the end of the semester. The end of college for me feels like a blur because a lot of it was spent in the COVID lockdown era. But anyways, yeah, I was in college, so I am speaking from a little bit of experience myself. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get straight into the video. Follow me on Instagram if you haven't already at NateTheVideo. But let's get straight into the video. Talking about it, is this job good for college students? And I think it really depends on what kind of student you are, what kind of person you are, how hard of a worker you are, how much you can tolerate, how much of a dog you have in you, so to speak, how disciplined are you, how motivated are you, how much you care about Amazon, how much you care about your college degree, how motivated are you, just all that kind of stuff. It really depends on a lot of variables, but I think for the most part, at least at the surface level, yes, this is a good job for college students for pretty much everyone. Again, this depends on some factors. Also depends on how many hours you're working and all types of things like that. But just on the surface level, the immediate answer for me at least is yes, this is a good job for college students. And I think that if you're in college and you're looking for a good job to work on the side, or maybe even you want to work full-time. I know there's a lot of people who do full-time. Whenever I was at Amazon, I believe I was doing full-time student and full-time full-time job. Sorry about that. But I was doing full-time for both. And it's definitely possible. Again, this depends on so many different variables. But again, on the surface level, yes, it's good for you. Now, what specific kind of what student are you? What kind of student are you? Are you the one who's looking at Rate My Professor? I think that's what it's called. I used to use it all the time. But are you the one who's looking at Rate My Professor and going through all the easiest professors and choosing the easiest courses possible? Are you the one who is in a degree or going for a degree that is so difficult and so time-consuming that there's really no possible way for you to find an easy professor or find an easy class and you know your stuff is going to be jam-packed? Are you the kind of student who is maybe in the middle of those two? You have hard classes and hard work, but you know that you'll be able to focus on other things as well. What kind of student are you? So if you're one of the students who's taking on everything, and school is your number one most important thing. You love what you're pursuing in school. You love what you're doing. You want to get this degree no matter what, at all costs. You won't stop to get the degree. You don't want to waste any time. You want to get all of your hours, as many hours as possible fitted in, and you want to get that all done. And you still think you can also fit a full-time job in on the side. If you think that is you, then you could probably do Amazon full-time. Now, the thing is that when you do Amazon full-time, we do have something called MET, mandatory extra time. So you will have to work overtime, and it is mandatory unless you use time off options such as personal time off, PTO. Unless you use something like that, then you have no other way to get out of that mandatory time off. You could try doing school as an excuse, but for me, I think it didn't work at the time. I think for a lot of people, Amazon's really, really strict with these kind of things, so you might not be able to get an excuse off, but it really just depends. Either way though, if you're one of those people who really, really has that dog in them, you're a really, really motivated worker, a really hard, disciplined worker, and you do not mind maybe losing out on some sleep, losing out on all types of different things, losing out on a social life especially, I think you're perfectly fine and capable of doing a full-time college schedule and a full-time Amazon schedule. Is it going to be difficult? Incredibly, especially if you're doing something really serious such as nursing or becoming a lawyer or anything like that. One of the very, very difficult college degrees and career pathways. If you're doing something like that, it is going to be incredibly, incredibly difficult. But it's possible. It's possible as long as you believe it is, and as long as you put your mind to it and work as hard as you possibly can. Yes, it's possible. Now, maybe you're still doing one of those difficult things, but you think that you want to be a little bit, you want to focus on school a little bit more than work, or even you want to try not to focus on work at all, and you want to work a little bit of a light schedule and just have some extra money on the side. Maybe you live with your parents still and you don't really necessarily need a lot of money, just a little bit of extra on the side to go hang out on the weekends or to buy coffee for school, anything like that. Maybe that's just you. You can always do the reduced schedule as well. We have something called reduced time at Amazon where you work 30 hours per week, 12 hours a day, so 3 times a week. You also have flex reduced time, which is again 30 hours a week, but you end up choosing your own hours every single week. You could also do flex part-time. Flex part-time is minimum 4 hours a week, so you could literally work 4 hours in 1 week and you'd never have to work another hour again for the entire week. With flex, part-time, and reduced time, you choose your own schedule completely. So once the schedule is released, every single week the schedule is released. I think it's every Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, a new schedule is released, and you get to choose next week's schedule or the next 2 week schedule. I'm not flex, so I don't really know for sure how it works. But again, if I'm not mistaken, it's every Thursday or every other Thursday, and you get to choose your next week or your next 2 week schedule when it drops, and you get to choose your own days, choose your own hours, all that kind of thing. So if it really depends. If you want to go full time with school, it's definitely possible. I think it's still a good job for college students. It's one of those jobs where you're not going to get called in, like with Amazon. You're not going to get called in to work randomly. That's never going to happen. Again, if you work full time, you might have your MET days, but those are given to you before you start working there. Like they'll tell you Wednesday to Saturday is your regular schedule, and then MET day is Sunday. And if they call it MET, they'll give you. Sometimes they don't give you that good of a warning. Sometimes they literally give you 24-hour of a warning, but they'll still give you a warning, and you'll be able to know and move around and work around that schedule. So if you're, like I said, if you're willing to really put in the hours and you want to work full time both, or maybe you have a place like your own apartment or something like that, and you absolutely need to work full time, I think Amazon is actually a really good option for college students. I think you'll be able to get it done. For me, at least, Amazon is one of those jobs where I'm not really worried about Amazon outside of work. I'm not really stressed about Amazon outside of work, as opposed to maybe people who work at a restaurant or work in retail and things like that, where the job can be so stressful at work, especially if you're dealing with customers or annoying coworkers or anything like that. The job can be so stressful at work that it's also stressing you out outside of work, and that could be cutting into your time with school, whether it be studying or testing or anything like that. It can cut into the time because it's just bothering you. It's lowering your mental health, making you feel a little bit worse about your whole life in general. And so for me, again, this isn't for everybody, but for me, in my opinion, Amazon is definitely one of those stress-free jobs where, like, maybe the day itself is a tiny bit stressful at most, but outside of work, you're not really worried about work. Again, you're not getting called into work randomly. Nobody's going to call you on the phone and be like, hey, can you come in? We're short-staffed today or something like that. Nobody's ever going to do that with you at Amazon. So it's definitely one of those, a good positive about working with Amazon and doing school as well, is that you have a strict set schedule. As long as you're not flex, you have a set schedule, and you only ever have to work that schedule. They're never going to ask you to work another day unless you're full-time and you have to do MET. Other than that, though, you're never going to have to work like some random extra day for whatever reason. It's just never going to happen. So again, if you want to do full-time, you definitely can. If you're not going to do full-time, maybe you're doing a part-time student and you're looking for a full-time job, then the same thing applies. It's even easier. Like if you're only doing a part-time school schedule, you should be able to easily do full-time, or even if you only want to do part-time at Amazon, you could still do part-time, whether it be flex or reduced time. It doesn't matter. There's plenty of options, and Amazon is really lenient with their schedule. Now, once you do choose a schedule, they are no longer lenient. It's very, very difficult to get it changed in some scenarios, especially depending on the site that you work at. But for the most part, when you're applying, you have a lot of options and a lot of availability. You get to choose what you like best. And also, whenever school does come around next semester, let's say your classes have changed, they will work around your schedule. Depending on your class schedule, they will work around it, and they'll give you a different schedule temporarily for the semester, again, depending on how your semester is. So whenever your semester is changing, you don't really have to worry about, oh, I'm only doing like 3 classes on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday for school this week, but next semester I'm going to have to do Tuesdays and Thursdays only. If it's like that, don't worry, they will work around that and they will change the schedule for you. Depends on their availability, but they should be able to accommodate you for those things as well. So in general, as a whole, is Amazon a good job for college students? For me personally, yes. Like I said, I was in college for the last couple of years. Granted, it was a little bit easier for me because I was doing online courses at that point. Due to COVID, I was doing online courses. I think it would have been a little bit more difficult if I was working in-person classes. It definitely would have been slightly more difficult. But again, I do think that it's possible, especially if you're one of those people who just has that dog in them and is willing to do whatever it takes to get everything done. I think me now would have been able to do it but back then when I was in college, I wasn't as hard of a worker as I am now. So I wouldn't be able to, I don't think I'd be able to handle that schedule back then. But nowadays, I definitely would be able to. It wouldn't be fun. It never is fun when you're in college, but it's still possible. And I think that you could still definitely get it done. And again, even even if you're not one of the hardest workers, or even if you don't want to fully focus on 2 full-time things at once, still possible to do part-time at Amazon, or maybe part-time in school and full-time in the other, or part-time in both. They're very accommodating. And again, like I said, for me, it's not one of those jobs that it's like super stressful while you're at work, and especially outside of work. So you're never going to be stressed outside of work. Once you're done with work, the only thing you're worried about now is school. You don't have to worry about managers or bosses calling you or people texting you to swap shifts or anything like that. Like, it's so simple. So in my opinion, the answer to this question is yes, it is a good job for college students. And on top of that, something I should have mentioned way earlier in the video as well, Amazon literally pays for your tuition. I think that depending on your country and depending on where you're at, it changes with your tenure. But after you've been a blue badge for a certain amount of time, I did forget how much it is in America. I think in Canada though it's 1 year, but in the United States I believe that it's like 90 days or something like that, or some certain tenure. But either way, once you hit a certain tenure as a blue badge or a permanent employee, for those who don't know what a blue badge is, it's just a permanent employee. White badges are seasonal, blue badges are permanent. Once you hit a certain tenure with blue badge permanent, they actually will pay for your tuition. They are linked up with a bunch of different colleges themselves, so it depends what they're offering that's available, but there's a lot of different options that you have available. So they actually will pay for your tuition as well, which just makes everything so much better for college students. So they will pay for your school. You can get like 100% paid off degree from Amazon if you continue to work there. So overall, like, I think that it is a great job to work at while you're in college. I would highly recommend it if you're looking for an extra job and you're not looking for something that's going to stress you out a lot. It's a very low stress situation. Again, this is different for everybody, but from my experience, it's a low stress situation, and it's good for accommodating schedules and all types of things like that in terms of school and students wise. So I would recommend it. If you're maybe a student right now and you're looking for jobs, I would recommend Amazon. The work itself, if you like warehouse work, or if you've never done warehouse work, it could be a little bit difficult for you, depending on how physically active you are. It could be a little bit difficult. You do get used to it. Another problem with the job is that it does get extremely boring at times, and sometimes it even gets slow. If it's ever slow, you might have some downtime to study or downtime to do work. Though I have seen students actually doing school work while at Amazon, just writing stuff down on paper, never with your computers, because you're not allowed to bring that kind of stuff into the facility. But still, you'd be able to get that stuff done. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say. There's probably some points that I'm missing down in the comments below. So down in the comments below, comment down below if you've ever worked at Amazon and done college at the same time. Let me know how that went. Let me know if you would recommend it to those, and let me know if you wouldn't recommend it. Comment down below why you wouldn't recommend it. But again, for me, it is a recommendation. At least I would at least give it a chance if you have the chance to work at Amazon at a facility near you. At least give it a chance and see how it goes. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video there, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, leave a like, subscribe to the channel down below. I make Amazon content like this weekly, and yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Love you all. Peace.